During World War II, a very strange and awkward British mathematician worked for the British government in an abandoned radio factory in the countryside. His name was Alan Turing, and his task was to decode the Nazis' secret radio code language, Enigma. Turing and his team developed a machine that could decipher up to 84,000 coded messages per month. He went on to make many more of these machines, and they grew to be much more complicated and precise. Back then they were referred to as Turing machines. Today we know them as computers. Alan Turing's work created artificial intelligence in computing theory, along with saving millions of lives, is the turning point of the 20th century because of the overwhelming effect it has on our society today.
Turing was born on June 23, 1912 in London. As a child, he was viewed as odd and did not have very many friends. He was later diagnosed with severe Asperger's syndrome, and this is why he did much of his work in solitude. Before England became deeply entrenched in the war, Turing worked as a mathematician and logician, while also studying at the British government's Code and Cipher School. But as the war intensified, he was transferred to work on a top-secret military operation at the organization's headquarters at Bletchley Park in Buckinghamshire. There, Turing was presented with his team of scholars and the daunting task ahead of them, solving Enigma.
Prior to Turing's groundbreaking work in the field of computer science and artificial intelligence, a Polish team of mathematicians, led by Marian Rejewski, developed a machine that could decipher Enigma, called Bomba. Unfortunately, the success of Bomba was dependent on the means in which the Nazis issued their code, eventually rendering it useless. Now this was all that Turing really had to work with, so the majority of his success and brilliance was of his own doing. He really single-handedly invented a machine that can think on its own and adapt to situations unlike Bomba.
So without an extraordinary amount of knowledge to base their studies around, Turing and his team invented a machine in 1942 that was related to Bomba but was at the same time very different, and they called it Bomb. By 1942, the British government was able to decode 39,000 messages a month, but that number quickly rose to 84,000. Turing moved on from there to develop a machine he referred to as Toonie that could decipher codes written by an even more complex Nazi coding device. With each new machine, Turing delved further into his ultimate discovery, the creation of artificial intelligence. Every machine could adapt more than the previous one and seemed more alive in a sense. The various Turing machines that were developed in the war are said to have saved approximately 21 million lives and to have shortened World War II by 3 years. This may have in fact been Turing's greatest accomplishment. Without Turing's miraculous inventions, World War II would have claimed millions of more lives. That's how important of a role he played in defeating the Nazis. After his work in Bletchley Park during the war, Turing designed the automatic computing engine, which was the world's first electronically stored, all-purpose digital computer. Turing's team never built the machine to his exact specifications, something that was very important to him due to his Asperger's, so he transferred jobs and wrote the first ever programming manual and the corresponding programming system that was used in the Ferranti Mark I, the first digital computer that was ever available for sale to the public in 1951. Unfortunately, Turing's work came to an abrupt end shortly thereafter when he was convicted of being a homosexual in 1952. He committed suicide 2 years later at his home in Wilmslow, but his spirit still lives on in the form of the Turing test, which is used to this day to determine whether or not a computer can think on its own.
Alan Turing was one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century. Whoever could have imagined that one man could have played such an instrumental role in taking down the Nazis, while at the same time invent a machine that none of us can live without today. In the time since Turing's work, computers have grown to impact our lives in a previously unimaginable way. Virtually everyone carries them in their pockets, and they have opened up incredible opportunities for communication and connections around the world. If it was not for the work done by Alan Turing, who knows if any of this would be possible? And who knows if we'd be living under Nazi rule right now? And in fact, we may not even be alive today, if it was not for Alan Turing, the most brilliant thinker of the 20th century.